Hello and welcome to Kicking It with NairaBet. It's been a couple of match days since we last saw you. Not since Unai Emery lost his job at the Arsenal, Frank Lampard's facing a sticky patch at Chelsea, and how the fortunes have changed for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Manchester United. Also, Lionel Messi picked up a 6th Ballon d'Or title, and of course, Freddie Ljungberg picking up his first win at Arsenal as interim. Welcome along to Kicking It with NairaBet. It's fantastic having you back in the studio, Biola. Great to see you.
Yeah, good to be here.
It's good to have you, and of course, Amaka Okoli is always here as well. You look all chill today, isn't it?
I am chilled. Looking out for Biola and the agenda. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is winning, so I want to hear what he has to say about that.
I'm happy, that's what I have to say.
Certainly, we'll be talking a lot about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and his new fortunes at United. But Ayola B also joins us on the show today. It's good to have you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good to be back.
I'm sure you've had a good time to reminisce on the last heated argument we had, so I'm sure we're going to have a better time to do on the show. But of course, welcome along if you're just joining us. Well then, let's start off with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer vis-a-vis Frank Lampard. It's been a funny couple of weeks for both managers.
Yeah.
One off the back of a 6-match winning streak, and all of a sudden it seems like a sticky patch. What's gone wrong with Frank?
It's difficult to say one particular thing have gone wrong. You just get the feeling that with a young side, form is always going to be topsy-turvy. You're going to have inconsistency in their game. You're going to have them make a lot of mistakes. But, you'll be slightly surprised at the kind of teams that they've lost to. They lost at home, for instance, to West Ham, who hadn't won since forever. As a matter of fact, that game was supposed to be Manuel Pellegrini's last game as West Ham boss.
Yeah.
But obviously, they flipped the script, and got a win. And then Everton as well got an interim manager. Chelsea went there, struggled badly, deservedly, lost 3-1. Like I said, it's very difficult to place a finger on it, but you are going to have these dips in performances and results, particularly when you have a lot of young players, in your team. But the key thing for me, from a Chelsea point of view, is that you get the feeling that Frank Lampard changes things maybe a little bit too much. In some sense, you would be consistent, but we also know, for instance, that Klopp changes things like Liverpool, changes stuff every now and then, and it doesn't really impact their results. You just get the feeling that it takes maybe a couple of years before you're able to build a structure across your entire team, that when you start to make changes, the quality levels do not drop. With most teams, you take out one or two major pieces, all of a sudden you struggle, and then the momentum that you have built, suddenly, goes alright. So plays a bit around with formations he plays with, the positions of players, and so eventually he will stumble on what is his best 11. But for now, I don't want to analyze. Like I said again, young players, sometimes you have this topsy-turvy run of form. Eventually they'll put a couple of wins back. We'll have forgotten this as well.
What Biola says almost corroborates the fantastic run Manchester United have found in the last 1 week. Young players give you some bad runs and give you some very good runs. Young players, is that a fundamental problem?
When I was young, I was inconsistent in life. It's normal. When you're young, you've not seen a lot of things. Do you know what I mean? So you've not seen a lot of things. You've not played so many games. You get inconsistencies in performances, and that's why when I see people knock young players, he upsets me. Like, oh yeah, Mason Mount, he was playing brilliantly at the start, but he's rubbish now. He's shit now. Blah blah blah.
What do you expect?
Forget even the age. The boy just started playing football.
Oh, yeah,
do you know what I mean? Look at Daniel James. We're talking about off camera, where some people said he started well, but he's deep. I'm like, listen, he will dip, and even while he's deep, he's still playing well.
Yeah.
So don't overanalyze young players.
The flip side, though, is that for big teams, they don't trade away results for anything, and that's the line I think that Manchester United and Chelsea have to work very carefully. So you go to Manchester City, spend tons of money. Nobody talks about young players there. Foden is supposed to be the most talented British player. He never plays. You go to Liverpool as well. All of the young stars Harry Wilson is playing well at Bournemouth. Doesn't concern Klopp. They bought Sri Lanka, didn't really settle in, kicked him out. There was Jordan Ibe. Nobody really plays. They just focus on results. At United and Chelsea, it's good to focus on youth, but the payoff usually is results, and nothing guarantees that these guys are going to develop into top players. So it's a thin line. That's why a lot of big clubs really don't spend too much time focusing on youth. You just focus on the results. If the young players are producing results, they stay in. They don't, they go out. But you get the feeling that United and Chelsea, there's a feel of incubation. There's a feel that we suffer now and then we enjoy later. Reality is that there is no guarantee.
You can't guarantee that for tomorrow. Which in itself brings us to the question now, with the difference in fortunes in the last 2 weeks. Does it give us any clearer picture as far as the top 4? Who do you think will finish inside the top 4?
I always
Abaka.
I always felt United will finish in the top 4. Maybe my heart was saying it, maybe not my head.
Yeah.
And I still think I still think it's possible. It's
5 points behind.
5 points clear.
So it's possible. Sorry, go on.
But for me, I think apart from Liverpool and Leicester City, who, as in the two of them, they look they look the part, both of them. Then Jose Mourinho has done fantastic with Spurs. Yes, Manchester United found a way to slow him down, but then you look at this Spurs team, they've got a good squad. Like I say, he has a better team with Spurs than he had at United.
Yeah.
You could argue about this, but because he's Jose Mourinho, and then I don't know about Manchester City, because even for Pep Guardiola to come out to tell us that he has a team that can compete, he's joking. I want to believe he's just trying to make sure that the press do not come after him, because you cannot spend that amount of money and have Kevin De Bruyne, Aguero, and all the Sterling, and tell me that you don't have a squad. But the truth is that City might not finish in the top 4 with the way they are going. Yes.
So here's the point.
Yes, they might not finish in the top 4 with the way they are going.
They've lost 4 games.
Are you God? That's how you like to.
I don't want them to.
Are you God? Are you God?
Here's the point. They've lost 4 games.
Of course.
It's early December.
Yeah.
They are 6 points behind Leicester. They've won only 2 of their last 8.
Of course.
Major pieces are gone.
Yeah, those are the facts.
The intensity with which they press is off. Manchester United, who are not the best passing team,
have the momentum.
They're passing through their press so easily, transitioning so easily.
They won't drop
in the heart of the defense. You have Fernandinho and Holdwallhorst struggling really. The fact of the matter is that, take away the reputation of the players and Pep Guardiola, this is a team that presently is floundering. And if they were not named Manchester City, you wouldn't sit here saying that they are shoe-in for a top 4 finish.
Please.
So
City will finish it.
So they might, but United are only 5 points behind now. They are
behind City. Oh yes, City, but I don't want if City don't finish in the top 4, I'll be dancing as Zonto on the street.
You'll be singing on trains in Manchester.
I'll be singing on trains as I usually. But the thing is,
please,
they've got too much quality not to finish in the top.
Okay.
I think they'll finish in the top 4 for sure.
Right.
But I pray they don't finish in the top. I pray they get relegated if possible.
No, you're reaching now.
The red half of you are speaking out very loud, but of course, it's been an interesting last few weeks for Manchester United. Not so much for Chelsea, but of course, Manchester City will be looking forward to getting their fortunes back up. Liverpool, obviously, head and shoulders above the rest, and Leicester making a great title push. Alright then, let's get on to some more topics of conversation. Let's talk about Manchester, the derby, which obviously happened. I've got to start with Chuamaka as far as that went. You thought on the NairaBet website before the game it was some 10 odds to Manchester United defeating Manchester City. That was quite a lot.
You actually said, given that United beat Spurs and took points off Liverpool, that it won't be bad if people actually placed their bet on
small stake.
I made a mistake. I should have. I'm sure I would have bought mansion by now. But anyways, for Manchester United, they shocked me with that result. But then for City, they haven't exactly been the authority. They making so many mistakes. People will argue, they should have been giving penalties and all of that. But City do not really need the penalties and all of the cards to win games. They're a team that they can brush, like they brush teams aside with ease. But that wasn't the case against United. And I think injuries, we should also say injuries have affected Manchester City, because players like Fernandinho, their whole back line were struggling with Manchester United attack. Lingard, Rashford and Martial were too quick for them to handle. And then the young boy, Daniel James, I think if United had better finishers, if United had maybe a Sergio Aguero or Harry Kane, they would have won that game by maybe 5 or 6 goals, because they had opening half. Ederson was, as in, he made saves upon saves upon saves.
Some good saves.
And at the end of the day, for Manchester United, I think confidence is back in the team. After beating Spurs and beating Manchester City at the how many people beat City at the Etihad? So I think confidence is back. For United, they are doing so well. But the annoying thing now is that you will be shocked to see United go from beating City at the Etihad to losing to Brighton and Hove Albion. So you now ask yourself, is it that they prepare specially when they meet the big teams? Because they are like the only ones that have taken points of they've beaten Chelsea, beaten Spurs, drew with Liverpool, drew with Arsenal. So against the big boys, they turn up. But then when they play the Sheffield United, the Aston Villa, you're like, what is wrong with Ole and his guys? So at the end of that, I think they should put in the same energy they play the big boys.
Right.
They should play other teams like that, because winning the big boys doesn't give you 6 points. It's still 3 points.
well, the fans will not care much about the stats and all that stuff. Manchester is red. That's all that matters, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wish I was in Manchester over the weekend.
Purposely asking that question.
I know.
Why went to Manchester though?
Why did I go?
Yeah.
We had things doing over the weekend.
Same.
I could have
Contemplated.
Yeah, I contemplated. I wanted to get my way around it, but I couldn't. I mean, talking about corroborating what she's saying about when United played the big boys, we were at Liverpool, and you see the way United set up.
Yeah.
When United play, even from the last, I don't know, not Van Gaal's team, Mourinho's team and this team, when we play the big boys, we adapt, kind of like not sit back or play counter-attacking football. You play like the underdog. You make it a cup tie. You close down every
Basically
space.
react to how they play.
Yes, you close down spaces. You do everything.
Yeah.
But so you expect the big teams to come at you, and then on the counter, all our forwards are lightning. But when we play the smaller teams,
The onus is on you to go ahead and
yes, the onus is on you to go and
attack?
go and
The
break
roles
them
are
down.
reversed,
The roles are
actually. Yeah, roles are
reversed.
reversed.
And that's why look at our record against the big six under Mourinho, and now we won more against the big six. Literally do well in every game.
Even LVG as well.
Even
LVG
LVG was the master of the
Absolutely,
big games.
yeah.
I think he hardly lost.
Yeah.
But now you don't look
twice
at the
at
result
Anfield.
against the smaller teams, and we just when you need the gal, the ingenuity, the likes of Rashford and Lingard, that
Intuitive.
Yeah, when you need to be intuitive, yeah. So they lack that a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe something that will come into his game eventually as he gets older. But to now try and break teams down. Mata is the kind of player that can do that, but obviously we know he's
Well,
coming to the end now.
yeah.
This team
His
is
legs
quite
are gone.
it's quite not the kind of team for Mata. But I mean, in the end, it kind of buys Ole Gunnar Solskjaer some more time to, impose ideas on the team.
Obviously, I mean, Manchester City is a mortal enemy. United going into those games, Tottenham and Man City, off the back of the Sheffield and Aston Villa results, even amplified this result in the sense that 1 point on board, 2, he also strengthens Ole's hands because after this Sheffield and Aston Villa game, of course there was a lot of pressure, and you get the feeling that if it was on the end of a hammering
In
in
those
both
games.
or on either, I mean, his position would then become fundamentally sentimental. Not like there were no sentiments to the appointment, but it then becomes glaringly too obvious. So huge result for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I think that on the back of those, so 2 things. A lot of people think that off of the back of that, then he's going to stay to the end of the season. Yes, but more importantly as well, off of the back of that, like Amaka said, United can build momentum. A lot of times, what flips your whole season is 1 or 2 results, and then you can just go on a run. If you've performed so well against Tottenham, and particularly the Manchester City game, the first 45 minutes was a display of how to destroy Manchester City. I get the feeling that a lot of teams will look at how United got at Manchester City on the break and will implement that against Manchester City. Off the back of that alone, that kind of performance, United can go on and build 3, 4, 5. If you can put 5, 6 wins together, you're going to shoot high up the table. All of a sudden, players feel like they have something to fight for. The problem with being cut off from competition most times is that the further you are away from being in important positions, the less intensity you have, because you're not so for Manchester City, for instance, they are 14 points behind. Guardiola is not going to say to players like Aguero, KDB, Silva, grizzled campaigners that look 14 points behind, we can still win the league. Of course they're not going to believe you, so you are probably going to lose more ground. That's the point. So if you are putting points on board, all of a sudden you get the feeling that look, we're getting close, we should perform better. You feel responsible. So I think that off the back of these 2 wins, 5 points off top 4 now, all of a sudden something that looked impossible looks quite possible. The players will listen more to their coaches. Everybody would feel a bit more responsible, and like I said, that could be the spark, of a good run, of some momentum building for Manchester United. Still a lot of the season to go, only 15 games gone, only 15 weeks gone. So we'll wait and see if this was the flip that United needed for building momentum for the whole season, or if fundamentally it was just Ole Gunnar Solskjaer being lucky enough to save his job for 1 season. Because one thing is sure, it's going to finish season with United no matter the results.
It's interesting to note, sorry to cut you in, it's interesting to note that in the aftermath of the game, Pep Guardiola did say, when you come up against the quality Manchester United have, Barcelona, Juventus, they're not quite set up in the way to compete with those teams at the moment. What do you make of those comments? A lot of people have made different iterations of that comment. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, so most times I just like to take what they say at face value, because more often than not when we interpret through our biases. What he said was simple. It was in plain English. He says that right now he doesn't think his team is good enough to compete with these guys, and you can see the reason why. The reality of the matter is that even though Pep Guardiola spent a lot of money and they put some trophies on board, the reality is that the fundamental blocks of the Manchester City side are the players that he met. He has spent extremely badly at Manchester City. On the game against Manchester United, he had £120 million worth of left backs on the bench, and he had Angelino on the pitch, a young player. John Stones, £50 million. Cancelo and Mendy, between them is £120 million off. None of the players that he has bought fundamentally has increased dramatically in value. The blocks is still KDB, Aguero, Sterling, Fernandinho, and David Silva.
Apart from his goalkeeper.
Edison is the one
absolutely.
standout.
But look, he's bought 23 players. If we're struggling to look for the success stories, even people like Kyle Walker have been dropped by England. They are fundamentally not making steps, and that's fundamentally what happened with Pochettino as well. There was a group that was in place before you came in, and it grew with you, so to speak. But all of the buys, most Pochettino's buys as well, were dots. A lot of Guardiola's buys at Manchester City, even though people have not focused on it, are dots. How is it that you spend £50 million on a John Stones, and more often than not you prefer a 34-year-old Fernandinho? That's an eloquent testimony to say that John Stones hasn't worked. And left back, you try Angelino, you try everybody there except the left backs that you bought for £120 million. At right back as well, you have Kyle Walker, who obviously was struggling badly with Rashford's directness, and pace. In the middle of the park as well, so he brought Rodri, who obviously doesn't have the positional awareness.
And like I said to people,
there are some positions on the pitch that he fundamentally can't train players. They either have it or not.
They don't.
The way Fernandinho has a sense of awareness of what move can lead to a goal, and he breaks it down very quickly, it cannot be taught. You can see Rodri, excellent player on the ball, but when he loses it and he needs to keep shape or he needs to disrupt play, he struggles badly. And the thing about Man City is that because they are not pressing well, once you can transition through their press, you can get past Rodri very easily. And when you do, you are going to facing a ragged, disjointed. Exactly, you are facing a ragged, disjointed defense. And people are just taking them apart. So of course that statement, obviously off of the kind of money that he spent, off of the kind of structure. One thing is money. The other thing is that Guardiola has a level of control that perhaps only Jurgen Klopp has over the entire shape and structure of the team. Okay, Jose Mourinho spent a bit of money, LVG spent a bit of money at Manchester United, but we do know that Ed Woodward is the elephant in the room. Sometimes he vetoes their call. At Manchester City, if he says he wants Son in the midnight, they'll make it happen. So he's had the sort of leeway that most managers dream of, and yet the side he has constructed is one that cannot deal with injuries. Liverpool have lost Fabinho this season. They've lost Alisson Becker. They've had Matip injured. Salah is having a poor season with injuries.
Has been injured for
absolutely. They lost Joe Gomez last season. They've struggled with injuries, but Klopp has built a team that fundamentally is a unit. And so we saw the game against Everton, took out 5 players, result was the same. Last weekend took out 7 players, 7 changes, result was the same. That is the coaching that we're speaking of. So 1 or 2 players get injured. It can be that you construct a side with your genius, with your vision, with your reinvention of football, and then one player gets injured, and then everything goes kaput. Then what have you built?
It's an incredible conversation to have with Yola Kazim, certainly. But I mean, obviously he's talked about the transfer market a little bit. Let's turn our attentions rather to Chelsea now, who clearly have had that transfer ban halved, it's got to be said, because they actually have served quite the transfer ban already. Does it dramatically change their fortunes or their strategy from the youth system, which they are so heavily invested in now, to spend on experienced players?
To be honest, I don't. First of all, it's very difficult to buy in January. You can buy in January, yes, we know that, but it's very hard to make 6 signings in January, just like you make over the course of a summer. Chelsea have done very well this season. Well, they've done okay. They've done quite well. They've not been excessively brilliant or anything. I don't think they need to go and buy so many players. Do they need a centre forward? Really? No, maybe. They've got Giroud, they've got Batshuayi, they've got Tammy Abraham.
But only Tammy is scoring in the league.
Yeah, only Tammy has been scoring, but because Giroud has not been playing.
And that's a problem.
No, but he's not been giving Giroud the chance to play. That's why only Tammy will score. If Tammy plays, Tammy scores. Then nobody else gets a look.
But if Giroud plays, he hardly scores.
But has he played? He's coming as a substitute.
Well, he played 6 games at the World Cup, he didn't score any.
He didn't score well, true. But
top scorer in the Europa League last year anyway.
Yeah, top scorer in the Europa League. So, I mean, I don't think they need a centre forward, because if you bring Harry Kane in, for instance, then Tammy automatically goes to the bench.
This is the point. Then you've got to decide: are you going to be thinking about Tammy, or are you going to be thinking about what's
Chelsea?
best?
No. You can think about Chelsea Football Club and decide Tammy goes to the bench.
No, I think that you think about Chelsea and being a striker, and the better of the two will play.
Yes,
competition.
Yes, but the thing is, unlike City that have untold millions to spend, Chelsea don't spend like that again.
They have 150 million waiting.
Well,
they have the Hazard money.
Yeah, they have 150 million. But they don't have a bottomless spot.
Look, they haven't even spent in a while.
Yeah.
They haven't spent now. Abramovich has a bottomless pot of money to give when he wants to, but he doesn't run the club like that anymore. For me, that 150 million should go to where they need players. Should go to centre back.
A central defender.
And I think they need a right back.
Of course.
Do they need a goalkeeper?
They need.
Of course they need a goalkeeper.
But they just spent 70
They
million.
need They need a goalkeeper.
Now, if that was City,
They need a
if that was
goalkeeper.
They need a goalkeeper.
they need a
They've got
goalkeeper.
Spain's #1 goalkeeper.
Please.
Spain's number
Kepa
one.
is
Kepa is number one.
No, he is number one. He is number one.
Kepa is number one.
Because he played
Don't
two
look at
games.
these
They
with
went
your red tinted glasses, Ayo.
No. He benches David De Gea right now.
He's number one now. It's number
But he's
one.
not even worth it.
Okay, can we check? Can we just...
Kepa is number one.
He's not the number one choice. He played 2 games when David De Gea was out of form. Okay, who played the last 3
number
internationals?
one.
Who played the last 3?
Kepa played the last game.
Well, that goalkeeper conversation would always be kept open. Of course, that's Spain's #1. Always a very contentious talking point. But let's now try and pick the brains of the Chelsea owners and Frank Lampard himself. Does it open a can of worms that he probably wouldn't have wanted in the mid-season? The transfer window suddenly being open now. What direction do they take? Do we stick with young players? Do we go with experienced players? Because like Jose Mourinho mentioned, can they really improve upon their best positions? Tammy Abraham is the second top scorer in the Premier League. Can you really improve on that?
For me, I think for Chelsea, there are games they've played this season that is obvious that the youthfulness contributed to them not winning the game. The experience. The game against Manchester City, they had all the possession. For the very first time in the Premier League, we saw City playing a game and, having less possession against their opponent. Chelsea had more possession, they lost the game. Against Liverpool, the same thing happened. They lost by 2-1. They were the better side against Liverpool. They play games, they play so well. Against West Ham United, they play so well, and at the end of the day, they don't even
so
get at least
fundamentally,
1
you think
point.
they should get in some experience into
I
the
think
team?
yes, they should get some experience. The young players is good. Young players, trying to help. I think they're trying to help England because almost all those young players are English players. I don't know whatever part he has with English play with the English FA and all of that to develop their English players.
I don't think anyone ever has an agreement to develop your players.
But for me, all those.
But he's a natural buyer.
But you see, Reece James is a good player. Mason Mount is a good player. Tammy Abraham is a good player. The young English players, yes, they are Hudson-Odoi and the likes of them. But for me, Chelsea is Chelsea. Roman Abramovich is not going to, give you all of the board are not going to give you time because you're trying to groom young players. Because, like Viola said, it could work, it could not work.
Getting some experienced players.
Get some experienced player. Go sign Ziyech, Jordan Sancho, Koulibaly. Sign those players.
Sancho is not an experienced player. He's 19.
But look,
well, for me, I think he's better than whatever forward they have right now.
Fundamentally, everything flows from clear expectations. What are the expectations of Chelsea? If you want to stay competitive, then youth cannot be an excuse. Of course, you can win with youthful players,
right?
But when they lose, don't resort to that to tell us that it is because they are young. So I think that it should come from a position of expectations. If Roman Abramovich remains the Roman that we know, I think he has softened a little bit, and I think he's moving on from the entire Chelsea experience. Particularly, a lot of people don't factor it in since the issues it has with his immigration status in England. It just looks like it's going to be sore, on Chelsea. Other than that, if he was still the same Roman, he doesn't brood all of these excuses. Carlo Ancelotti actually started his youth experimenting at Chelsea. He won the league in his first season. Second season, he was playing people like Gil Kakuta. He was playing people like Gil Kakuta, Josh McEachran, what's his name, with a Broma, a few boys. They came second, he got fired. So if the expectation is for them to remain competitive, then you have to get the best. If the best are the young players that you have, good. If the best are out there, you pay and then you bring them to your club. So if the expectation of Chelsea is to remain competitive, is to guarantee a Champions League place, is to go really, really close to the Champions League, then I do think that obviously they need some strengthening. But if the expectation is to keep the money and keep faith in the young players, then I think that goes without saying. They will take the pains, the losses, the wins, and
quick question. Let me just ask you this: I'm just asking, if they come 6-6 this season, do you think they will sack Lampard?
So, to be honest,
yes or no?
I don't think so.
No, me too. I don't think
so.
Right. I totally don't
maybe
think
sentiment of him being a legend.
Probably that also helps. Lionel Messi picking up a 6th Ballon d'Or title. Anybody?
Messi should win it every day.
I think that's almost become a consensus. We all almost agree that Messi is outright best.
He's the greatest of all time.
Yeah,
he's the greatest.
To be
of
fair,
all time.
greatest of all time doesn't mean he's the greatest in a calendar year. Even though I believe he was the greatest in 2019.
He's the greatest every day. Why?
No.
But there are some seasons. Like the season was injured. He wasn't playing well, and he didn't win it that season.
He was still the best player in the world that year.
Yeah, it was still the. Okay.
But what exactly is the criteria for winning this Ballon d'Or?
Let's not go into that.
The thing is, people keep saying, "Oh, this person, Virgil van Dijk,
One this, one that.
Yeah.
First of all,
It's not
my
a trophy
personal
counting
opinion,
contest.
It's not a trophy counting
Is
contest.
it an
the best
individual thing?
individual
Okay.
performance.
Then
of
Messi
The
the
reality of the
winning.
matter is that nobody can sit and make an argument that Messi is not the best player in the world. It's a difficult argument
some
to
people
have.
try and do it.
Well, let's
What
just
he does do is add up numbers.
No, no, no,
Ronaldo
no.
scored 40
You know
goals,
what?
Messi
You know
scored
what?
30.
You know
This
what?
one won, this one, that one.
Yeah.
All of those things are pendant. I told people, if you want to go down that route, then we can sit here now and say, for instance, that Ahmed Musa is a greater player than Sheikh Gondegba. I mean, these things don't end.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Mustafi won the World Cup. Messi hasn't won it.
Yeah.
Is Mustafi greater than Messi?
Well.
He's neither here nor there.
I think
Well,
it-
we could just say Messi's like porn. In private, we all enjoy it and all that, but you come out in public and deny his because
I totally don't
I
understand.
don't
Well, I don't, to be honest, I don't understand what you're saying. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well then, let's move away from Lionel Messi. It's been a great year for Lionel Messi 2019. Hopefully the next year is as good as what the previous one was. Well, often at times fans are a huge part of the game, but certainly one part that hasn't quite been mentioned quite often is social media, which is a huge part of football. A lot of us watch the games now through the eyes of social media, and if you're a Manchester United fan, you must have come across a video of a couple of very astute United supporters in jerseys praying at top of a mountain, something like Moses and the Israelites.
Did you believe prayer works during football?
I don't know.
No, it doesn't. Please, let's not even go there. There's no prayers.
But this one worked though. They prayed
Brazil
United beat Mourinho and Guardiola within the same week, of course.
It wasn't prayers.
Divine intervention was part
What
of it.
worked? What was it?
A combination of performances and tactics and poor performances from the other side.
Maybe the United
Yeah.
fans paid tight.
But that's the
But
prayer.
because they've been praying since and they've been crap.
Well,
so
they just started
so
praying.
God did not answer their
No,
prayers.
they just started praying, and maybe they paid their tithes too.
Bullshit. Let's leave the prayers out of football. Super Eagles pray every game. Yes, they
win some,
never
they
won
lose
the World
some.
Cup.
They win some. They win some. They win some.
Maybe the opponents pray too. So
Well, social media, obviously, we keep a very close eye on things there, and it's been great seeing football through the eyes of social media, especially for some of us who have become very accustomed to it. Then, well, for Premier League supporters, the football comes thick and fast, especially in December, and I'm sure the rest of the guys are used to that happening over the last couple of seasons. But let's go into some previews. Let's start off with Liverpool, who are table toppers. They welcome Watford to the Anfield. Is that a game you feel Watford, with the change in managerial positions, Nigel Pearson? I saw somebody on social media say where they pull him up from, but he's got an assistant in Craig Shakespeare, who was with Leicester a couple of seasons ago. Do you think they could go in a different direction? First offset for Liverpool in the season?
well, I believe in a change when there's a new manager, but he's definitely not going to be against Liverpool. Trust me. Anfield is like a fortress. I can't remember the last time they lost at Anfield.
What's it, 40
And,
games?
and you know, every game they play now for Liverpool is like everybody. The question on everyone's lips is, when are they going to lose? When are they going to lose? When are they going to lose? And you know, it looks like it's going to happen against their last game. They played Bournemouth in their last game. It took quite a while before the goals started coming, and we're feeling okay, this is going to be it. And then they score 1, 2, 3, and we're like, okay, game over. Well, for Liverpool, they actually do not play the gang pressing, heavy metal football. They just have a way of grinding out 3 points, like the champion stuff. They have got it. So Watford, that's totally a different. I'm not expecting anything less than a 3 points for Liverpool, because right now, you know, the question is, when are they going to lose? When are they going to drop points? And I can't wait for them to lose or drop points, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Well, certainly the Fabinho injury hasn't affected, as a lot of people did at this stage. But when you think about that and you flip the scripts to Chelsea's side of things, then who welcome Bournemouth? You feel Chelsea, with the return of Antonio Rudiger, could make an instant impact in the defense of that team, isn't it?
I don't think Rudiger is a great defender anyway. So I know you don't agree with that, but I don't think he's a top class defender. That's just the fact
Decent,
of the
not
matter.
top
He's
class.
decent. He's
Top
not
class
top
is
class.
another level.
Yeah, he's not top class. He's decent.
Top class is Van Dijk.
I don't think coming in
Koulibaly?
will make a straight difference. I don't think it's exactly better than what the people playing there now. So
Really?
yes, they need a
think-
centre back in my own
I think it's
opinion.
more experience.
I think
It's
he's
more experienced,
than
it's
what they've got
older.
now.
Exactly.
It's got a calmer
So he
head.
can come with some level
Calmer
of-
head, certainly not.
But
Well,
you know, sometimes
with a bit more leadership. Fundamentally as well, a lot of football is psychology.
But you-
when there's an old head, there's an old head
Yeah.
in and among everyone at the back. You can say, hey, hold, go. You know, people will listen. Somebody will direct on the
Yeah.
pitch.
Right.
But the
And that's
funny
fundamental,
thing is,
particularly
though,
for the
Diola,
centre-back position.
Funny thing, no matter how good your defenders are, if you're set up in such a way that Frank sets his team up, sometimes they get exposed.
Yeah.
We were out. We together at Old Trafford for the first game.
Yeah.
For the first, yeah, we're together. Yeah. And you could just see, was Rudiger playing? He wasn't playing,
he
okay?
didn't.
But you could see the way he set Chelsea up to attack. And they just left wide open spaces at the back. And before you knew, they were playing well.
Yeah.
So it's weird when you say, we've lost 4-0, but we played quite well. It sounds weird.
It's weird, yeah.
But they
Also,
played
before
well.
we scored, they should have scored many
Yes.
goals. Before United scored, they should
And
have
then the
scored
next
many
thing,
goals.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Piling
And
up.
it's a humiliation.
Individual mistakes as well.
Yeah.
for
But
sure.
apart from that, they were
The structure of the
acres
team, they are too open.
Yes,
They are too
acres
open.
of green grass.
Fundamentally, do you see an upset happening? Another upset? Would it be an upset now? Chelsea are not so much of a. I mean, they're still.
I know they're having a sticky patch, but I think they'll beat Bournemouth. I was looking at the odds
So-
as well, and I thought
Bournemouth have won 1 in 11.
Oh,
So they're
wow.
poor side themselves.
Actually, Bournemouth have lost.
Well,
no, they've lost
well,
their last 6.
But don't
Yeah,
forget
they won one
Everton.
in their last 11.
Everton were terrible and they beat Chelsea 3-1.
Yeah, but that's because the manager
managers.
the new manager.
well.
And then it was at
Chelsea are
Was that a good
1.28
impact as well?
Yeah, Chelsea are 1.28 to win, and Bournemouth are 11. Just as I advised,
Are
people
11
back-
to win?
Yeah,
Wow.
I advise people
Wow.
to back United with a small stake, going to Chelsea, going
going
to
to Manchester City.
Please, I'm not advising you to back Bournemouth this time around.
You could just say both teams to score.
Yeah, both teams to score.
Both teams to
That is
score.
scoring.
Both
that is a
teams
good
to
call.
score.
That's a call we've made a lot on this particular show. I'm sure if you've been staking on that particular call, most likely you've been cashing out as far as that goes. NairaBet.com basically. Well then, the big game certainly Arsenal versus City. They come to the Emirates. Freddie Ljungberg picked up a first win against West Ham. You feel is that enough to go up against City? City aren't good themselves, particularly so, but with all they've been through, is it the best time to play them?
A bit difficult to call, but I particularly like how Arsenal came back against West Ham. City have the look of a broken team. They have a manager who is saying absolute nonsense, and a lot of times that's the dead giveaway where the manager can figure it out. So it's got to be something. It's got to be other teams are stronger than us. VAR is not working for us. It's basically
You think he will leave at the end of this
clutching
season,
straws.
I think he will.
Well,
Go to where?
to be honest,
Sabbatical.
I think he'll stay. He just signed a new deal. He keeps talking about next season at Manchester City. I also feel that apart from football, strategically, in terms of PR, in terms of how City sell the club, is a strategic piece in how they sell the club globally. So I think that they probably will say to him, no, we do know we have problems. At any other club, a £700 million spend to land in a team that's totally broken will mean that they will consider.
With too many titles.
Well, that's
Yeah,
fine,
true.
but it's like PSG. They sack managers even when you win the league. What's going on, Man City? Same as PSG. Outspend everybody, have better players. You will win fundamentally. But in this sense, they have better players. But Jurgen Klopp has shown, and I mean, obviously, making life incredibly difficult. What I think will happen is the owners will say to him, "Look, we know you are in a bit of spots, but we're going to sort it out. Where and where do you need players? We'll get you the players that you want."
need.
But I think that the emergence of Liverpool means that those days of cranking up
runs away from a
£100,
battle, though.
obviously he does. But I
Yeah.
think that he would think that he can fight this one. Maybe one more year because this season is done and dusted. But coming back to the Arsenal, I think that looking at that Man City defense, Arsenal will get a bit of joy. Aubameyang, like I said, is back. Pepe as well in amongst. I think that they'll get a bit of joy, maybe a goal or two. But I also think that going forward, Arsenal are an absolute mess at the back. Seeing how Man City are defending
Right.
6s and 7s, struggling, you know, obviously not pressing well. Transition is horrible. You can bypass the midfield and you can face. I mean, we don't know who Guardiola is going to play at left back next week. Arsenal, obviously, with Aubameyang, with Lacazette, with Pepe, you know, in amongst the goals, they probably will get a goal or two. But I also think that at the back, Arsenal are absolute atrocity, and I think that Manchester City as well will get a couple of goals themselves.
Arsenal defense, my word. Guy never described them as uncoachable. Did you see that? Uncoachable.
David Luiz,
David
absolutely
Tierney.
reckless.
No, not Tierney.
Socrates.
Socrates,
Socrates.
and Papaludos or something like that.
Now
Socrates,
now Tierney is
Papastopoulos,
injured.
yeah.
And then
And
there
now
was
they
one
lost
of them
Tierney.
said
Yeah.
they are uncoachable, and I actually think they're uncoachable because David Luiz, when Arsenal signed David
Calamity.
Luiz, and they were excited, and hang on a minute,
It's a
Chelsea,
million quid though.
8 million. Yeah, but forget the price. I don't care about the prices of players these days. If you sign a player for 100 million, it does well, it's a bargain. If you sign a player for 2 million and he doesn't do well, it's a waste. So which one is, So David Luiz, awful defender, comes into the guy just gallops for like he doesn't know what he's doing. Anyway, City will beat them as bad as they are because Arsenal are worse. I mean, so you were talking about the Arsenal defenses, about the Arsenal attack being very good and the City defense being poor. Arsenal's defense is worse.
An atrocity.
It's an atrocity. It's a shambles.
Uncoachable atrocity.
So I think City will score. I don't actually know if Arsenal will score because
I think Arsenal will score.
Arsenal will score.
Arsenal will score.
whatever, if you want to go for the go, whatever. This is a game.
Yeah.
As a betting man, I will stay away from it because Arsenal are 6-5 looks a decent price
To win at home.
To win at home.
6-5 at home.
No, 6.5. Sorry.
6.5.
That says a lot about
It says
them.
a lot about them, but they are a crap team. I don't think they're good enough to win. And City being 1.46 away, 1.46 to win away to Arsenal, who can obviously raise their game on the day. You think that's a shocking price for a City team that you can drive a tree through the midfield and defense.
Yeah.
So that game is a no-no for me. I'm not getting involved.
It's actually interesting. On social media, somebody said, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had a run of games that let him get into the building. They called Ljungberg at the gate.
Oh, yeah. He said at least Solskjaer won his first 13 games. And then we drove in. But they were able to catch Ljungberg as a fraud right from the start. They caught him at the gate. That was quite funny.
People are mean.
Social media is crazy.
Interesting. Well, let's take a quick trip to Spain. Valencia welcome Real Madrid to the Mestalla. It's a big game. Real Madrid have managed to keep their manager in
Madrid
place.
win. They're playing well now.
Playing
Scoring
well.
goals, they're winning games, even with a lot of dislocation.
Keeping clean sheets.
You get the feeling that they're in the groove now.
Yeah.
Found a bit of form. A lot of the negative noise we're hearing, all of those things have simmered down a little bit. So they look like a team that are in the midst of a title challenge. Of course, they are staying really, really close to Barcelona. And I've not seen enough Valencia to think that they will be the side. I mean, sometimes Madrid go to this stadium, Mestalla, and go and struggle just a little bit, but the individual quality in the team is so frightening.
How's it possible?
So frightening.
How's it possible that Karim Benzema is now scoring goals for fun?
But you know the funny thing? You say when you say how is it possible that scoring goals for fun? He's always scored goals.
He's always scored goals. I mean,
He's
he's
always
always
scored 25. He was playing next to Ronaldo.
Ronaldo
scoring
takes the
60.
shine off him.
Made everybody look bad.
But then he was doing really low numbers. He was doing 13.
No.
Competitions.
You know, competition was doing 20,
25, 35 in some cases.
But because I remember the combination of him, Higuain, and Ronaldo. But because there's a certain Ronaldo, people forget
Yes.
these
The
other
numbers he
people.
can post up.
Exactly.
He's been the French best striker for a long while years, even though he doesn't play for the national team again. But I wanted United to sign Benzema for so many years ago.
10 years ago.
He's
10
still
years?
a top-class
10 years
player.
ago.
10 years ago.
Still a top class player. So we all think Real Madrid gets to
Madrid's a
win
win.
against Valencia. It's an interesting race in the Spanish top flight, especially with Lionel Messi back in the thick of things. As far as the Pichichi goes, okay, but keen eye on things there. Well, it's been a fantastic conversation, gentlemen, lady. It's been good to have each and every one of you, Biola. Thanks for stopping by.
Pleasure.
It's been nice,
Hopefully, you'll see you some other time. Amaka, it's good to have you always.
Thank
And
you.
AY.
Yeah, thank you very much. But the good thing today is I didn't want to yank your head off.
We manage
I
that.
wanted to yank his head off.
But we managed that.
You know what?
We just
And
leave.
let it go.
I'll let it go. But today, it's been a good boy today.
Well, there have been no superficial questions like, are you God? But of course, we'll keep the conversation going. Use the hashtag Kicking It with NairaBet on social media to be a part of the conversation. And also follow us on Twitter at KNairaBet. We'll see you soon.